Yeah, you can add image from your own computer also.
Well, mine is blank. I don't have a library actually. So,
Okay, do you want the backdrop for this one?
well, if you have one, it would be nice. You have to email to me, is it?
No, I can just send it in the chat box here.
Oh, okay. Let's try.
Strange. I don't know why my.
Zafi is scary-nya.
Itulah. Okay, let me try again. Okay, maybe this is better now.
Okay.
Okay, it's better. But it just looks like just you can only see my head.
Okay, Zahrin, I send the backdrop in the group.
Yeah, it's downloading now. Yeah.
Okay.
Do I have time to click? I have a green screen or
No need.
no need? Well, the download is finished. Okay, I have to press
Depends
the
on your
button.
computer actually. Like sometimes if your camera resolution isn't great, then yeah, we look like Zafi's like just all the flashing.
But where is the file? When it's downloaded, is in the virtual background list.
No, it goes into your computer.
Where when you say download, is it under download?
I would suppose so.
Oh,
I'm not
okay,
sure.
okay. I'm not sure how this is done.
Okay. Actually, anyway, we can already begin. I'm not sure. Netizen, if you wish, we can make a change. Yeah. Kalau masih boleh.
Looks like okay. I'd rather change now because it's gonna destroy. Forget it. Another time.
Okay. Okay.
I
Apa
make
tu?
you
How do?
host, then
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, you can start the recording.
Recording it. Yeah.
Okay, all the best.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Farah. Okay, bye.
Oh man. Okay. 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 I believe now we are already live. So first of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Encik Ibrahim and Encik Zahrin for taking some time off today to have a short tea session without the tea, or rather online tea, together to share a bit of experiences in the railway industry. So, okay, without further ado, I'm going to let you introduce yourself about your career, about how you came to where you are today. So we are going to keep it short and sweet, so we have a rough idea of how you came to where you are now. So first of all, Ibrahim, would you mind sharing a little about your journey?
Okay, hi, I'm Ibrahim Malik. I actually have been in the railway industry for more than 30 years, serving in numerous areas like maintenance, managerial, and executive position. I began my railway career in 1989 with SMRT, working on the front line to upkeep and maintain the railway power supply system to ensure smooth running of train operation. However, after a number of years, I realized the work is a little mundane because I don't quite like routine work. So I decided to pursue higher education at NTU. That's where I met Zahrin, anyway, brother Zahrin.
Oh.
However, upon graduation in 96, I immediately took up the work at the LTA because for me, I prefer to work in the outdoor activities, meeting people of all walk of life. Mm-hmm. So I decided to embark on a journey as a project engineer with LTA. The reason is the job blends the technical and social aspect of engineering, where I have the opportunity to see the evolutions of a project from conceptual stage all the way to the final end product. So I get to interact with people from different backgrounds, expertise. In this case, multinational people from France, German, Japan, and also I get to learn all this from this expertise from these people. Mm-hmm. I worked for a number of years, but importantly, when I first started the job, I was assigned on the system that I have never seen before, I've not heard before. So basically, the university degree that I have is just a foundation for me to start the work. I think this is the reality that we have to accept.
Yeah.
That many of us think that with university degree, you can still always start a job. No, not true.
Mhm.
The moment I start work, I'm going through a learning process. Actually, it's a deep learning process. But fortunately, this is the job that I like most because I enjoy something that I want to do. The learning curve was quite steep. So for myself, 3 to 5 years, I already get to know the system in the fingertips. So for 10 years, I've been the engineers there. And after a while, there's one incident, major incident that disrupted the railway, that the boss take notice of my expertise in this area. Because I'm not a person who like to impress bosses. So for 10 years, I've been engineer, there's nothing, no promotion, nothing at all. But only in 2006, after the major incident, that the bosses realized that in this area, I'm specialized, where I'm able to recover the system because the engineer in charge of that system resigned on the spot after the incident.
Oh.
So I managed to recover the train within 3 hours with the blessing of my chief executive engineer at that time. So from there on, I can see my promotion. 2 years, every 2 years I get promoted. And in 2007, a big Japanese firm came over to Singapore to request them. I request LTA to assist them in a major project in Istanbul. Fortunately, I don't know whether it's fortunately or unfortunately. Fortunately, I'm the only one who has that experience. Unfortunately, I got to stay away from my family for a number of years. But so I was assigned in Turkey, Istanbul for 3 years to work on the Marmara project. That project is to link the Asian to the West, where the tunnel is built under the Bosphorus Strait. It was an eye-opener. I get to learn a lot of things, European standard. I get to learn a lot of contracts in Europe. I get to learn systems that I have not seen before. And with that knowledge, I came back in 2007. I was given the task, I came back in 2010. I was given the task to set up a new division in LTA where we are undergoing major renewals of the infrastructure in all the railway in Singapore. So there are about 120 engineers and managers reporting to me at that time. So that trust built up upon what I want to share is do not impress your boss. Do what you are supposed to do. Just carry on doing. People will notice it by themselves. You don't have to impress. So that is the message I want to send. But importantly, before I end short description of myself, always you have a work-life balance. To be successful in a career, you must adopt work-life balance. No matter how hard you work, whatever time you work, you can never finish your tasks. And it's important to make time, quality time with family and friends, and also our religious obligation, no matter how important the work is. At the end of the day, there are always next tasks the next day. Thank you.
Thank you, Encik Ibrahim. Okay, now Encik Zahrin, how about you? How do you come to where you are today?
Okay, first of all, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and thank you to Zafir for hosting this, and the Jen and TCC organizer. I think this is an excellent program, and a good morning to all the viewers listening in near and far. So my career is not as long as Ibrahim, but I know him for a long time. He's a good friend, ex-colleague. Hopefully one day we will be reunited somehow. So my career spans 25 years. It's quite a mix, actually. Mix in the sense that I have private sector and public sector experience. I have local experience in Singapore as well in overseas. So I've worked more than 10 years overseas in various countries, in Dubai. I almost had to go to follow K. Ibrahim also under MSI, but that didn't happen after I left LTA. I worked also in Bangkok and in KL, and had many job assignments in Beijing, in Pakistan, in various countries in ASEAN. So it's a lot of traveling. So, but my humble beginnings started in 1995. I got my first job with General Electric. Yeah. In fact, I not even got my results yet, but they were willing to hire me, which was quite strange. I don't know whether I broke any labor laws or not at the time. But at the time, that was the job where I was involved in the Woodlands MRT line extension. It was my first exposure to the railway industry, but it was short-lived because at that time, when you are young, you are quite impetuous, you are quite impatient, you want to do more and you wanted to get higher salary, so you always were looking around. So from General Electric, I went to Indico. I did the Tan Tock Seng Hospital. Then I moved on to Tyco, Tyco International, which was more in flow control and fire. And then by different circumstances, I had a chance to work for LTA. I was offered a job in North East Line, but they decided to let me do Bukit Panjang LRT. Was the first LRT. I think probably it's a very famous project for a lot of people. And I continued with a number of assignments in LTA. Had quite a very enjoyable stay for 10 years. Then I decided to venture out. Right, I took on a job with Dubai Road and Transport Agency. There is a government link, government organization. Stayed there for 3 years. I decided to come back when the family decided to return. But I decided to en route to Bangkok. So I took up a job with an MNC called Bombardier Transportation, doing signaling. In Asia. So it has been a long trip. Private sector, public sector. I had roles in engineering, design. I had roles in project engineering. I had project management, system integration, and then I was a project director for a number of portfolio. And then finally, my current role as head of sales and business development, responsible for Southeast Asia region. So I think probably one of the questions people ask whether I'm actually the right candidate to talk about engineering, because I'm in sales, right? There's a lot of, I would say, misconceptions, or there's a certain view about sales. But I can tell you that after I took on the role, my engineering foundation actually helped me a lot. Because I'm not doing sales for the sake of sales, but sales engineering. So like it or not, you need to have a very strong domain knowledge of the railway business. And the more holistic your understanding of the railway business, I think that the better you are in terms of the sales and the business development capabilities or deliverables. So for those who are not sure what a salesperson or business development person does, so I'm responsible for the top line. So in the business lingo, top line means revenue. So I'm responsible for the revenue. I'm responsible for the profitability of the various bids and projects. I do a lot of stakeholder analysis. I do a lot of hassle mapping. These are all business management lingo where we talk about understanding customers' needs. So it always starts with the customers. And to put forward your value proposition to the customer, you need to understand the business model. You need to understand the competitive landscape. So like, for example, LTA is my esteemed customer. And so SMRT and SBST. So for us to put forward a solution to them, we need to understand their pain points. This is critical because we don't want to propose something which probably they don't want or they don't need. So then besides that, we have to manage customers, look at the latest trends, and this is something we can discuss a little bit. Where is the industry heading towards, and keep the whole, I would say, the relationship between us and various stakeholders very strong and very, very healthy. So I think that in a nutshell, that these are some of the aspects of my career. I think there's a lot more to learn, a lot more to discover, and hope to share this with the audience today.
Okay, mashallah, thank you. Okay, now going back to Encik Ibrahim. That's why you said earlier that you went to work in like a front line for a few years before you actually pursued the studies in NTU, because you actually felt bored, right? Like you wanted something more. But I mean, what may I know at what age you decided to actually go to? I'm assuming you went to NTU for your undergraduate degree. Yes.
Correct. I went NTU at the age of 26, I think, 26.
Oh,
I
26.
can't
But
remember, 26, yes.
did you like feel out of
By
place,
then,
or
I
that
already
never
got
mattered?
6 years of, say again?
Yeah, like did you feel out of place, or you just didn't care? Because some of the things that I've met are some technician level technicians. So they want to pursue their degree because they really want to go up the engineering ladder of how do I say that? It's the corporate ladder. So it requires usually an engineering degree. Do you have any advices for this kind of for this group of people?
I mean, for myself, I did not look that far at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I did not look that far. I don't think that I will climb the corporate ladder.
Ah, okay.
I didn't. Actually, I don't believe where I am now, right now. But at that moment, I was thinking that the knowledge was a little bit stagnation. I find it, you are not growing anywhere. You are not growing because a bit bored, is it? So I decided to enter the university. At that time, the number of diploma holders was quite limited, quite challenging to get in. We are not that welcomed by the A-levels student, when we were in the university, because
really?
the percentage of diploma holders is about 3 to 5% at that time. I'm talking about 92, 91, 92. So not that welcome in a way, but anyway, people like brother Zahrin and the rest really help us feel belong, and we managed to find our way there. And then in the initial start a bit tough because we're trying to adapt to a university life. But after a while, with the working experience, I think we moved very fast. The learning process was very fast because we are able to visualize things. And then when we apply theory, it's very easy. So in a way, I don't feel so much pressure. Indeed, while I was studying at the university full-time, I was also working with SMRT full-time. So I was working. I don't encourage the youngsters to do that. I was working full-time, permanent night shift with SMRT. My shift end at 7. I ride a bike, go to NTU, and study my degree.
Oh.
Can you imagine? It's tough. If you ask me how did I make it, I don't know. but the reason why I could make it, because the strong desire to acquire knowledge, you see. So my dream is, yes, I want to go further. I want to learn more. I want to know more. You see? And that's where the moment I got actually, when I entered university, I already know exactly where I want to go. So when I completed my university exec, I applied LTA because LTA has a project that satisfied what I enjoy most, where I like to work outdoors activities, things like that. And I really planned my way all the way. And that's where I decided that's the reason why I pursue higher learning at the NTU.
I see. So I can tell straight away that your whole desire of just going to NTU first is you just wanted to learn and just wanted to improve yourself, upgrade.
Exactly. I just want to upgrade.
Not thinking too much about corporate ladder. No, I want to be better.
No, never at all. At that time, never at all. Actually, I just want to do more because when I was with SMRT, I realized that I'm not boastful. I feel that sometimes I know better than the engineer. so I realized that, he doesn't know the system that we are maintaining, and yet he's the engineer. I was taken aback, you see. So I decided to pursue, and I realized that there's always a learning curve. Never end.
I see. Inshallah. Thank you, Ibrahim. And Zahrin, so I cannot help but notice that you made the jump from a public sector to a private sector. Usually what we hear from, at least from my peers, or rather people who I've met before, engineers who made the jump from private sector into public sector, so a reverse of your situation. So I'm wondering why was that the case, and did you see any was there any merits to your career progression by going from LTA straight into private bombardier? So
yeah, I think it's one of the favorite questions I get. And to be honest, what happened is that I was actually in an MRT train, standing there, and I was I wouldn't say eavesdropping, but I had to chance upon a conversation between two adults, and they were talking about the transition between private sector and public sector. And it was a conversation I had the benefit of hearing for at least 30 minutes. And one was saying that it's very difficult to make that move from public to private because the chances of success, the probability of success is quite low. And I think there's some truth in that. But the converse, that means from private to public sector, the adjustment is probably less arduous. And I wouldn't say that's right or wrong, but it all depends on individuals and basically goals and their objectives. So to answer your question, okay, probably I answer the first part first, that if you want to decide to move from public to private, right, there must be a certain reason that you want to. And for me, when I did that, I made that jump, and I said it's a career jump because it's something which I took almost 1 year to decide. Yeah, but you must understand my career path was I was in LTA, then I shifted to Dubai, still government, and then Bombardier. It's not from LTA straight to Bombardier, right?
Okay.
So there was like a 3-year gap. And the reason is because it's also another point which was shared by one of my good friends in the private sector. He's a Frenchman, by the way. And he said to me, Zahrin, when you want to decide a career move, do not take 2 stepwise changes. Don't take 2 more stepwise changes. That means if, for example, you want to leave your country for another country, and then you want to have a change of role, that's 2 changes. But if you want to change to another country, and then you want to change to a different role, and then from public to private, that's 3. And some people even have a fourth dimension to their career change. That's going to be very, very stressful. So I made a conscious decision that before I go to private sector, I want to experience life overseas and then still within the government. So the transition wasn't so drastic and the learning curve would be much more manageable. So to fast forward, then I decided to go to Bombardier because I had a long burning desire to join the MNC or a multinational company. Even though I started my career with General Electric, but it was not in railway and it was short-lived. But I think when you go from public to private, I think you find that the pace is phenomenal. It's like you're driving on an expressway and suddenly you're on an F1 track. There is the reaction time is super fast, and they don't give you much time to learn. But of course, there's training programs, and on-the-job training and onboarding, which will allow you to transit smoothly. But it is going to be a challenge. It's probably nerve-wracking and not for everybody. So that's why I get some questions like this that people ask for. I say that if you are more than 40 years old or more than 35 years old, if you want to jump from public to private, I would advise you to exercise caution. If your heart is not strong, you're not resilient enough, I think probably you have to reconsider carefully. Then now, conversely, if you look back from private to public, I think there are many reasons why people want to do that. I mean, for me personally, that possibility is not close. Right? I have a soft spot for LTA. That's how I built my career, 10 years in LTA. Many good friends. Ibrahim is one of them. We still talk to each other. I still feel that whenever something happens in LTA, I take a lot of interest. So when you do that, there must be a reason. Maybe it's for a specific project, or is it because we're going to set up a new initiative. And sometimes, like what Ibrahim said, you are seeking some work-life balance, and unfortunately, in the private sector, there's a lack of that. There's less opportunity to have that work-life balance. Whereas in the public sector, you tend to have that. But as you go up the ladder, and like Ibrahim, with those directors, deputy directors, good directors, and all that, their life is consumed with work. I have to say, you have to say no at some point, because like which Ibrahim knows, Mr. Sim Wiming, my former boss, he says that work can never finish, but you can be finished. Yeah, so that sticks in my mind for more than a decade in my head. So so I think I hope that answers the question. in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. Okay, now back to Encik Ibrahim. So, I mean, if let's say you were to encompass all of your experience, like if you were to have a reflection of all of your working experience so far, and you had to pick three things that you would like to convey to our younger engineers about how they want to face the challenges, especially currently with COVID, and also face challenges in their careers in the future. What are the three things that you would like to tell them, Encik Ibrahim?
Sure, I think to be successful in your career, whether rail industry or any, first thing, in my opinion, first thing that having high integrity is very important, because you have to follow your moral conviction and doing the right thing in all circumstances, even if no one is watching you. I mean, you got to be I mean, you got to be honest to yourself. Whatever you do it with your heart. Okay, having integrity means you are in truth to yourself and would do nothing that dishonors yourself. Secondly, having the right attitude, because it defines a person as a good or valuable employee. The ability to work well with your colleague in good faith, take criticism professionally, take responsibility for your decisions, support your organization in time of need. This is very important. Indeed, when we interview candidates for a job, the first thing that we look at is the attitude. Because in 10 minutes or 15 minutes of interview, what else can we check? The education's result is there, right? What else to check? So we want to test their attitude, where they are. So it's more about, not so much about your result, what you want to pursue or your dream. Last but not least is the networking. I mean, in rail industry, it's very, very important it is an essential element in the work life for us in the rail industry. You have to interact with people within or outside your organization. Why you need to exchange ideas, to look for new opportunities, to build up your confidence in your area. Just like what Zahrin said, even though he has left LTA for many years, we still communicate and we still talk with it. So this is the networking is very important for them, whether you are still in the same organization or you left the organization. So those are the three elements I think that is important for students or young professionals. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Encik Ibrahim. Now, Encik Zahrin, now with your extensive experience overseas, I've seen that I saw your LinkedIn, you worked in Bangkok in a variety of places. So let's say, for example, they want to work overseas like you, but they have no idea about this kind of opportunities. I mean, what kind of advices would you want to give them?
Okay, yeah, good question. And I think before we answer that question, I think there are a few ingredients, if I can use the word, just to expand a little bit what Ibrahim said. Networking is super critical. It's not important. It's super critical, and should not be underestimated. And as a young engineer, when I started off, you're still trying to understand your craft. You're starting to understand your field. So you're still a bit more on the foundational level. But as you progress, networking becomes very important. And this my advice that even when you are young, you should not disregard it and underestimate the value and its worth. So like people say, when you want to buy a property or a house, it's location. But for our field, it's networking. Yeah, and it will open up new doors, new horizons. So yeah, you never know what comes around the corner. And just to touch a little bit what Ibrahim said, when I do interview candidates to try to recruit people into the organization, I'm looking for people who have experienced failures. Yeah, who have gone through ups and downs. It's not, the straight A students or who have gone through, Ivy League universities or very good universities or results only, but to see how they actually bounce back from setbacks. Yeah, and the more you see this in their CVs, in their resume, and that will impress me more because there's so many CVs, but you want to pick up the diamond among the rough, right? And the ability to problem solve and be resilient and to be able to overcome setbacks. I think it's a critical factor. So networking, and also you need to be brave. You need to be courageous. Like Ibrahim said in his slogan, or his, I would say, what are the words he used? Ibrahim, you said that, what's the word you use in your write-up?
I believe I have it here.
Yeah.
It's like the quote.
Come out from your comfort zone, right?
Yes.
And that's something which, like I mentioned earlier, in LTA things are quite predictable, but for somebody to want to go overseas, you must take that leap of faith. You need to be courageous, because there will be a lot of challenges along the way. You know, from a perspective of culture, from a perspective of food, even your prayers. You know, even your ability to perform your basic, your prayers and your fasting. This is also quite challenging, and a lot of people don't understand this. Yeah? Your dietary requirements, all this is something you need to be mentally prepared. So for me, when I make those kind of decisions, actually I do a scenario planning and do a risk assessment. Look at all the best case scenarios, the worst case scenario, and what I think would be something which is realistic and manageable. Yeah, because you also don't want to be a burden to your family. If you are so miserable overseas, I think then you need to reassess your situation. So that's the other thing is, for me, to keep us always on the forefront. I think you need to develop passion and love for lifelong learning. Yeah, the desire to acquire knowledge, and not only just acquire knowledge and new areas of studies, but to apply them. Yeah, and when you have knowledge, you apply, you practice, and then when you share, that it becomes wisdom. Yeah, and this is something which I think is very important as we go along. And therefore, your ability to be able to identify people who are in the field, who are years ahead of you, this is where you tap your experience from. So the question, back to your original questions, when you want to make that decision to venture out, always look out for people who have done it. Okay. When I was in Dubai, I get a lot of emails and phone calls. They say, hey, how to work in Dubai? I mean, they don't even do their homework. They don't even understand the country. There's a lot of basic things you have to do before you make that decision, because it's not a small decision, right? It is a big life-changing experience, and also may affect family members. So you have to go through a very detailed self-assessment. So I'm not too sure whether I answered that question to the fullest, but I hope I gave you some idea how to move forward.
I think to me you answered everything, and you answered everything basically. So I gave a good answer. So okay, so I'm actually going to open up to both of you on a question on this. So now with the current climate with COVID, it's becoming extremely uncertain. Some economists say that there might not be our economy might not be able to recover for next 2 or 3 years at least to what it was pre-COVID era. Now, as the railway industry is not as affected as our airline industry or our manufacturing industries, I'm still actually wondering if you still have any advices for anyone who are thinking of going into the railway industry, even with the current COVID era. Is there anything that they should take into account, whether or not that this COVID thing is actually affecting anything within the railway industry, or just any general advice that you have? Last one for our listeners.
You want me to take the question? Okay, I can take the question first. Then Ibrahim can compliment. Okay, so rail or mass rapid transit or anything which is land-based, we have its own challenges because we are entering a new norm, right? There's concern about the pandemic, social distancing, and so on. So, like it or not, there will be a new norm. Like what Minister Chan Chun Sing said, we are not going back to our previous life. We have to evolve, we have to transform, and we have to adapt. So, is the question will the railway industry remain relevant? Yes, for sure. Yeah, but it will not be the same. But its core will be the same. It's going to transport people from A to B, from point A to point B safely, and you're carrying mass commuters, big group of people. So, and you have to do it safely. So now the element of not only safety in terms of potential train collision, derailment, and so on, but now you have to look at the welfare and the health of our passengers. So now the industry really start to move there and looking at maybe there could be some improve in the filtration of the HVAC, the air conditioning system of the train. How do you actually measure the weight of the vehicle so that there's no overcrowding of the vehicle? Yeah. Even temperature sensing, and also you have the basic thing like dispensing what do you call it? What's that liquid?
Hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizers. So these are small things, and there's also big things, and engineers will be very much part of this development work. Yeah. So I don't see there's any concern. Yeah. There may be a bit of slowdown because it's very difficult now to mobilize people on the ground. Yeah, because of constraints. But I think the industry will be going to another exciting phase. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Maybe
Ibrahim, do you have any else that you would like to add on?
Okay, I just want to add on. I think I agree with Brother Zahrin. The pandemic definitely will change the job landscape in the rail industry, but not that much. Not that much. However, just for the young student or the young professional, I strongly encourage, if you really want to go into the rail industry, I strongly encourage those who want to enter to prepare mentally and be open to learn new skills. Because our tertiary institutes have not catered much curriculum in the railway industry, on railway system, unless you take up a specific railway course. Because I experienced it myself with the curriculum that I have. I almost got nothing for me to start on. I got to start all over again. So be prepared for that. And then secondly, deep dive into the system, understand it, learn it. I tell you, it will not be difficult to learn. The moment you have the foundation, polytechnic foundation, degree foundation in Singapore curriculum, I tell you, is quite good. It's enough for you to self-study and learn. Within 3 to 5 years, I believe you can become experienced or expert in that area. Now, once you have that working experience, try to take up chartered engineer. Register yourself as a chartered engineer, either with IES Singapore or with the UK. Okay? Basically, you got to prepare some write-up about your engineering experience in developing solutions to engineering problems. Take up this, and then widen your horizon. Don't focus on one area in engineering. Let's say you are doing in power system, go into other systems, signaling, rolling stock. Just like myself, I thought I'm doing power and that's it. But I'm forced to move up the corporate ladder. I'm saying force. So I'm forced to learn other systems. I got to learn signaling. I got to learn controls. I got to learn rolling stock. No choice, unavoidable. So be open to learn new things, new systems. So if you really want to go in the rail industry, these are the challenges. And I hope more young professionals enter the rail industry. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, inshallah. Okay, so I think we've come. I don't want to take too much of your time. So thank you so much again for taking time off on a Sunday morning to have this conversation with me and also to share your experiences with our listeners. Inshallah, we'll be having some short snippets of our so-called tea session today without the tea. So, and we'll see it in Facebook, and also inshallah more people will be able to benefit from a session. So thank you so much again, and that's all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sure. Advance salam ma'al hijrah to all. Thank you.
Okay, ma'asalam.
Okay, that's it.
Assalamualaikum.